What's up, everyone? Welcome into a very special boxing scene today. Obviously, we're on the road today, but the band is back together. We got Robert Garcia and Paulie Malignaggi here with me. Guys, we got a lot to talk about today. We got a big fight tomorrow night over here in San Bernardino. That's why Coach and I are on the road. Paulie, I believe you're over in Europe right now, right? You got a
No,
big.
I'm in LA for
Oh,
I miss LA Live. Victor Ortiz is fighting tomorrow on BKB.
oh, I didn't think it was in Europe. Well, regardless,
Well,
we're
a
all
lot of
we're all
BKB
on.
fights are in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, true. We're all on the road working. We got fights this weekend. But the biggest news today or this week in boxing scene is the fight that we've been talking about. We've been talking about this fight for months. Is finally getting is official. Ryan Garcia defending his WBC welterweight title against WBC ranked number one Conor Benn, crossover fight, U.S. versus England. Conor Benn's coming over here. We got fight in Las Vegas, September the 12th. Ryan steps into that coveted September spot. Biggest fights of the year usually happen in May and September. Ryan steps into that as the superstar fighter, the defending champion. Coach, I know you love this fight. We've been talking about this fight a lot. What are your initial thoughts that we finally got this thing hammered out?
Look, first of all, we're glad it's finalized already. The fighters are ready to fight. That's all they were waiting for. The obviously promoters and business side of it. But I'm glad it finally got done. Can't wait. Ryan is a young, talented kid here in Southern California, very loved by everybody, and definitely going to be supporting him. But he's in a tough fight, man. Conor Benn is tough. He's gonna If Conor Benn's able to get in on the inside and work good body work with taking Ryan's punch, because Ryan has tremendous power and speed. If Conor's able to get in there and frustrate Ryan, then it's going to be a tough fight for Ryan. But I think Ryan's too fast and too explosive that sooner than later he will land that hard punch that could hurt Conor.
Yeah, probably that left hook. So, Champ, are
Yes.
you surprised that this fight actually happened as it came together? Because it looked like Oscar De La Hoya was not playing ball, but seemed like he was wearing his promoter hat and got this thing over the line.
Yeah, I think they just needed to basically do it right. I think that, Oscar had some points in that, if you want to do this fight, we're not going to stop it from happening, but you got to basically call me. You got to make it work. I think Oscar kind of knew that he wasn't going to be the promoter of note on the show because, I think Zufa and Turkey probably wanted to do that. But I think, it had to be done in a way where I think all parties were happy with the deal and happy with the way it was going to happen. Personally, I think that Oscar, as long as the payments were made correctly and the purses made as correctly for the team Ryan and team Golden Boy, and you know, it's done in the way where okay, they go through him, but even if he's not the promoter of no, say Ryan is just a provision of services on the show, right? If he's a POS, say for that, or for argument's sake, that he is, or he might be. I think Ryan is just so much more superior that it's like a free win anyway and free money. You know what I mean? So it's like Oscar's like, okay, we'll let you do it. Like in normal circumstances, maybe we wouldn't, but this guy sucks so bad that we'll let Ryan fight him and under these circumstances, but just do it right. Do it right by the book. If we're gonna be a POS, do it right by the book. Come to us, we'll sign off on it or whatever. This is just my conclusion, my assumption of the whole thing. Because in the end, they got made. It was just too much money not for it to be made. And in the end, I think it's one of those situations where a promoter like Oscar, when you have a product like Ryan, probably wouldn't agree most of the time to something like this. But it's so much money for such an easy fight that it's like, all right, you know what? I mean, if you're gonna, if I really don't want to do it, but if you're gonna throw me that much money, why not? I mean, it's an easy fight. We'll just beat
Uh,
this quickly and then
Partly, you don't you think that it's also something personal from Oscar, knowing that there's been so much talk back and forth with
yeah,
Zufa and Dana
yeah, I
and all
think
that. So
so.
I think it's also something personal
Yeah,
that he knows he could get. He knows he's got a bigger chance of getting that win, and that'll make him really
yeah.
proud.
Oscar's gonna be talking for a while if Ryan
Yes,
gets this win,
exactly,
especially if he does it
exactly.
spectacular like
I
is
mean,
suspected.
yeah, I think that that also comes into play, of course, and but that's also why. It's funny, Coach. I thought when you were first asking the question, I thought maybe you thought like because Oscar doesn't get along with him, he might blow the deal. But I think, yeah, it's exactly how you closed it. It's like, yeah, he gets to talk all the trash now because they're like, oh, I brought in my guy and he's gonna basically wreck your guy on your own show. You know, ultimately, I think Oscar dots his I's and crosses his T's with a fighter like Ryan. You know what I mean? Like that's a big product for Golden Boy, especially after they lost Canelo, so years ago. Like that's this a
Mhm.
Ryan is a huge product for Golden Boy, and I think doing right by a relationship, a proper relationship between Ryan and Oscar, I think is important for the life of Golden Boy, and also I think for both of their careers, because I think aligning together, because Oscar was such a star as a boxer, and aligning Ryan with that. If they can make that work, I think that's actually Ryan's best course of action. If they can make that work, because there's sort of a similar path in terms of the promotability that they both had with Oscar and have with Ryan. So I think it's a situation where they can make money, gain a lot of promotability, win an easy fight that's going to be sold like it's a real fight, but in reality, it's just it's not that very difficult fight, and that's it. I think, you move on and you make Ryan an even bigger star. I think Ryan, every time he steps in the ring, has a chance to just make his star shine much more bright now, because now he's a world champion. Now he finally reached the point where, okay, you have to be a champion. You all this promotability, you have it, but if you become a champion, this gets all multiplied 10 times as much, because you've been promoted so well prior to becoming a world champion, mostly due to his own YouTuber and influencer life.
Yeah, most guys become champion, then become stars. Ryan was a star and now is a champion and he's
But I
legitimized everything.
But I do think, promoters have to build you in a way where you do get some notoriety prior to fighting for a title. Otherwise, you become a champion and nobody knows who you are. So I think there's a little bit of balance of both. Either way, Ryan had that, and now having become a champion, I think it makes him that much of a higher level star. So every single time, every single title defense this guy makes, I think is a real opportunity for him to make his star shine brighter. And honestly, the show is going to be promoted like crazy. Conor's very,
Yeah.
very popular in Europe and in England, especially hugely popular. Ryan is very, very popular in the States and I think globally
Nah,
to
he's global. Ryan's
a
global. He's
degree.
everywhere.
So I think
Yeah.
I think ultimately, nobody's going to talk about that this is a mismatch. The only inside boxers, people on the inside are going to know this fight's a mismatch. On the outside, this fight's going to be talked about like, wow, Ryan Garcia and Ben. I already know all the young people that I know in my life are like my neighbors in Long Island, Chris. They have all younger sons. They follow Ryan Garcia. They follow
Yeah.
all the YouTubers. I already know I'm going to be approached about this fight, like, well, Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn, by people like that, because they're more casual fans. There's gonna be a lot of casual fans who are just big Ryan fans, or even from the UK, big Conor fans that are just gonna be really excited about this fight. In reality, I don't think it's that great of a fight, but as far as the marketing ability and the marketing value, it's huge. It's going to be huge, and it's
It's good for the sport,
well,
this fight, regardless of
I
what we
don't
think
know
of
if it's good for the
the
sport. It's
match.
going to be good. I don't go that far, champ, because
Well, listen,
the whole promoting,
if you're
every time you
you're
promote a show
alluding.
like this and then the fight's a dud, it's actually a punch in the
Yeah,
face.
but you're
No,
alluding
no,
to Ryan like not
but
knocking him out spectacularly, which if he
exactly.
does, that's not a
Ryan's
dud.
going to wreck him.
Not just about the fight, Paulie, Chris. Not just about the fight. I think the idea of the promoters, Golden Boy, Sufa, that have been
Hmm.
going back and forth, pretty much hate each other, and
Yeah,
being able to do it, it
that's
is
so
good for the
fun,
sport.
Robert.
That's the
Yeah.
best thing that could be happening in boxing right now.
The
With
soap
look,
opera dramatics.
no, but look, it's true. Look, this
Oh,
weekend, look, we have fighters here on Probox that are able to use fighters from Top Rank or other promotions to fight in the cards. I have Chop Gonzalez fighting on a Matchroom card the same day tomorrow. And next month, August 1st, I have Raymond Muratea defending his title on a Golden Boy card. Now, Golden Boy being able to all the going back and forth with Sufa and Turkey and Dana White, but they're able to do this together. So that on that side, I think it's great for boxing that we're able to do those fights, because that's what people want to see.
Yeah, I was saying this the other day about these two fighters in particular. Like, everybody wants to fight both these guys. Everyone wants to fight Ryan because Ryan, one, he's a titleist now, but also you're involved in that marketing machine. You're going to be in there, and Ryan brings a big paycheck. You're fighting Ryan, you're getting paid. Like, he's just that level now of star. And then Conor, to your point, Paulie, he's lower hanging fruit in the welterweight division. He's not a champion, but he brings a lot of money. But he's a very beatable guy. I mean, he showed that in his last fight against Prograis. But also, there's another caveat about this. From what I understand, I believe this fight's going to be on Paramount. So that is an interesting caveat to this whole situation. You would think this would go to Netflix. Netflix, of course, would want this card, or DAZN. Obviously, they're working with a lot of these promoters as well. But this is going to be a Paramount fight. What do you
Is
guys
it Paramount
think about that?
pay-per-view or just regular
Oh,
No, I
Paramount?
think it's just it's just regular Paramount.
Paramount,
Well,
you
I
could deal
figured.
with Paramount is no pay-per-views, which is
Well,
Right.
actually
then that's
very
huge. That's big.
convenient.
Because it's a paid subscription. The
Yes.
amount of
Okay.
eyes
Okay.
on this is going to be big, big, big,
But
big.
that's huge. That's
That
huge.
is
Because I think if it would have went to the zone, they would have made it a pay-per-view. You know, and if it
correct.
obviously would have went to Netflix, okay, it's one thing. But you remember, Zuffa has to deal with Paramount. They have to deliver some kind of boxing content to
hmm
Paramount. That's
Especially with their back against the wall because the zone has captured all the promotions now. This is
not
a
only
big
that,
big push.
Zuffa's boxing content sucks. You know what I mean? Like they have to bring something better here than they have been bringing. You know, like they're they just coming off the McGregor weekend where they had a huge obviously audience tune in. So they got to keep that momentum going in their boxing because there's like two different paths. Zuffa's
Also, the
on.
White House card too. Before that,
Yeah,
that was another huge one.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They're on two different paths with this Zuffa deal right now because they got MMA cards that are drawing a ton of viewership, and they got these boxing cards that are drawing like maybe the population of your block on Long Island. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah,
not really
Paulie, but
watching.
you gotta understand that they're getting started too. They're getting started. They're
I
not
hear you,
they're
but
not
you got to
they're
have more than 20
yeah,
people watching
but
your
they are
shows, Robert. Come on.
but they are signing top names. They are signing big names, and I'm pretty sure every other promoter is looking at that and getting a little bit worried. They are coming up with the names slowly. Their shows maybe like you're saying they haven't had big names fight or anything like that because they're getting started. You know, every promotion at most of the top fighters are already committed to another promoter, but slowly they're getting some into their roster, and sooner than later they're gonna have a big bigger names, and they're already showing it, man. They're already showing it. Plus co-promoting, like they're doing this show with Ryan. That's beautiful, man. That's good for boxing, man. That's the best thing that could be happening. For all the young fighters, all the boxers that know that every promoter is fighting for the zone right now. Plus, Tufa is paying them pretty well, and now they're co-promoting with somebody like Ryan and Oscar De La Hoya. Well, that's good. Now we know that all the fights could be made.
But also, there's that platform. There's the Paramount Plus platform where you're going to get a lot more
Yes,
eyes. There's not a paywall there. I mean, there is, but it's a subscription based, which comes with the whole rest of the Paramount
Yeah, because I'm the one.
catalog. But also, with these two guys, I mean, it's crossover, and you have a big opportunity here. And a lot of other fighters are going to look at this like, oh, if we go that route, we can get a lot of eyes because the numbers on this fight are going to be huge, huge because of the Paramount deal.
I'll tell you, this is a chance for Paramount to do something that the Zone wasn't able to do. The Zone originally was coming out saying no more pay-per-views. We're going to have this subscription model, and we're going to put all the fights here. And then it just didn't work. They couldn't make the fights work enough, and they ended up going to a subscription model plus a pay-per-view model when there's a big enough fight. So it seems like Paramount is going down the same path. And it seems like with them with the MMA audience, it's a loyal audience. It works. It seems like they get those viewerships. But with the boxing, I mean, we'll see if they're able to do basically what the Zone was not able to do. We'll see if they're able to get that loyal enough viewership to deliver enough of these kind of fights. Ryan and Conor is going to deliver not because the fight is quality, but because the two personalities and the two fighters are so popular. Plus, honestly, Coach, you made a good point. I think what's going to be the most fun about this whole thing is going to be the press conferences between Dana and
Yeah.
Oscar. That's actually going to be more entertaining
correct.
than the fight itself. The fight itself, I think Ryan's going to beat the shit out of this guy. But I mean, I think that the press conferences, the build up, even both fighters are going to talk trash. They're pretty good trash talkers.
They already have been, yeah, quite a bit.
Promoters are also going to have a weird
Go at it. They're gonna have a go at it.
between the
Dana
two.
and Oscar.
Yeah. So I think that the buildup will definitely entertain. I think the fight ultimately will probably be a dud on fight night, but
Might be the afterthought, the fight. But
yeah.
regardless, I think we know where you stand, Paulie, on the matchup. Let's talk about how these guys are actually gonna compare. And Coach, you get off the top, you're like, this could be a tough fight for Ryan. Ben is a guy who brings a pace. He's physical. He's shown durability. So I think the big question is going to be what happens when Ryan lands that vaunted left hook? Because the power's real. Ryan's fast. Ryan hits hard. What happens when he lands?
Durability.
Look, we've had
In
Ryan
the Eubank fight.
There's
You've
been
been 24 rounds of Eubank at 160.
Look,
Eubank can punch.
Yes.
Eubank can punch.
Look, Paulie, I think
Ryan
right now,
Garcia can punch.
Yes, Ryan right now as a world champion, everything changed. He's the world champion. He's the man. So he's focused. He's dedicated. I'm sure he's going to be in great shape. So I do see Ryan landing that punch and knocking Conor Benn out. But I do see. I could also see some really good rounds where Conor finds his way on the inside. You know, makes Ryan miss the first couple punches and finds his way on the inside and give him some trouble. I do see that too, and that's interesting. I want to see that. I want to see how Ryan reacts to Conor on top of him and just being a little aggressive, a little dirty, we could say, and confuse
Making it
him
physical,
too. Make it physical. Ryan could get confused, could get frustrated. We've seen it before. He does get frustrated. So that's one thing.
Coach Duarte, one of your guys.
Yes,
I
exactly.
don't think you were with him at that point, but he made
I
that fight
was
physical.
not,
It made
but
Ryan
yes,
uncomfortable.
exactly. So I think it's something that's gonna have us waiting to see what kind of reaction Ryan takes when somebody like Connor's on top of him and being a little ugly, a little dirty. We got to see that. I want to see that. I want to see that, and I do see Ryan landing and hurting him and finishing him. But at the end, I think it could be a really tough fight.
As long as you don't get the Ryan who showed up against Rollies, because that Ryan
Correct.
was
Correct.
very ineffective. I was looking at the numbers for that fight. Like they combined to land like less than 50 punches. It was a really slow.
But I think
fight.
now as a champion, champions right away get a different mentality.
True.
Ryan,
I mean, that
Ryan,
was only 2 fights ago for Ryan. That's the crazy part.
Everywhere Ryan goes, he's got his WBC belt. That's he's proud, and that makes him commit to defending his title and doing it for his people. The WBC. He talks really well about Suleiman and WBC, so he's gonna defend it. He's gonna, his family, his dad, picking him up when he won the title. That's the best feeling ever, man. I did that with my dad, and it's the best feeling ever. So I think he knows that he's got to go out there and perform, and when he does, I think he'll put up he'll do a great job.
Champ, let me ask you about the weight. The weight's a big issue. Conor at 149, his last fight. He hasn't fought at 47 in 5 years, and he went up to 160 to fight Eubank in those 2 fights. Put on some good size, some good mass. Had a lot of trouble getting back down for the Prograis fight. Did not look good at the scale, and that was at 149. 2 pounds is 2 pounds, but it's 2 pounds at the end of a weight cut. Yeah. How much do you think this plays a factor in this? You're a guy who you made weight recently. You understand what it's like to get back down, going back down in weight.
Yeah, it's I think it could be problematic for Conor. I don't think either way.
I think it's a huge issue. I think
either way he's not going to win the fight, but I think they'll probably use it as the, hey, we didn't perform because of the weight type of thing. I think it is. I mean, and in some ways it is going to weaken him. I do think that, but I think even the best Conor Benn gets knocked out by Ryan Garcia. But I do think that it's not going to help his cause either. Yeah, it's a difficult weight cut for him for sure.
Yeah,
I think that'll be used as, I won't say an excuse, but a reason for Conor.
But where does he go after that then? If you can't make 47, you're going to go 54. That's deep water.
You go to 54. You hang around in England, get a couple of wins like they got you before. They'll use him enough. They'll use him enough to recycle him in some way. He's a product.
Perfect segue for the next story on BoxingScene Today. Errol Spence is moving the weight up. So they were supposed to fight at 158 against Tszyu. Wow, man. Speaking of coming back down after being off for a while, fighting higher, now getting higher and higher. We've never seen Errol above 147 in any meaningful fights. So this fight was originally for 158, apparently. And this week, Errol was like, nah, we're pushing this to 160. It brings into question whether he's struggling to make the weight. It's been a long time it's been a couple of years since he's had to make weight. Making weight sucks no matter what. But this is an interesting extra layer to this whole fight, which is a big deal anyway. Coach, you've had some guys in the past who struggle with weight. You're pre-negotiating prior, be like, hey, we're not going to make this thing. What is that like when you're in camp and you just go, you know what, we gotta renegotiate this?
Well, yeah, it is a little frustrating, and you have to deal with it. It's embarrassing at times too. It's embarrassing when your fighter signs a contract and then you have to talk to the promoter, talk to the other manager, try to negotiate, try to work something out. It is,
and usually give up some money, right?
Exactly. Most of the time, that's what happens. Give up some money. But I think with Errol, I've said it when the fight was made. Did he take this fight because he knows he might not have much left, and didn't want to take a tune-up fight because that might be it for him. Now that he's not being able to make weight and has to push it to 160, a few pounds higher, that kind of tells me that's a problem. That looks like it's going to be the problem. He's didn't didn't do camp the way he's supposed to. Maybe he couldn't because his health is just or his body's just not responding anymore. It's just tells me that he had that problem and that he chose to fight Tszyu because of that situation. He didn't want to take a tuna fight because he knew the tuna fight might be the end of his career.
I always thought Errol would be better at 60 anyway. I fought Errol 10 years ago.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy.
He felt like a middleweight when I was in the ring.
Yes.
He's the biggest guy I've ever been in a ring with, and I don't know.
And if that's the decision he's making, then good for him. And I want to see him perform. Yes, then good for him. If he goes out there and blows out Tszyu, and then I'm happy for him because he's a great person. He's never been disrespectful to nobody. He's a great athlete, and yeah, I would be happy to see that.
Paul, are you hearing anything? Because I know, I believe you're working that card, right? I mean, you deal with the no-limit guys quite a bit. You're in Australia connection.
There's been some visa issues to getting there.
With the rest of the card, right?
Everything's been, including me. I finally just got my visa yesterday, so it's like this is a. Let me not say anything because otherwise they won't let me in. I mean, it's a really
let's talk about it after you get out there.
It's a really difficult place to get into. I'll tell you that. But I'm hearing that Spence got in after some trouble.
Charlo's still out, I believe.
I heard
Foster's out.
Charlo's not getting in. I heard
Fulton too, right? Isn't Fulton in trouble?
Fulton I haven't heard anything about, but wouldn't shock me. I just got my visa, so I'm happy that I was able to get pushed through. But yeah, man, I mean it's been a little bit difficult because it's such an amazing event for Australia. This is probably the biggest boxing card Australia's ever put together, man. No Limit has done a really good job of putting together such a good show, and it's like, because of these visa issues and these visa situations, it's like it seems like it's being chopped away little by little. The magnitude of the card, at least the main event gets in there, and Errol getting there, even making the fight at 160. I think making the fight at 160 might benefit both guys, because Tim has been at 54 for a while and had also talked about going to 160. So I think it may benefit the fight and give them a little bit more energy and maybe making a more fun fight in general, which of course would be amazing for the crowd because they've sold, I think, at least 10,000 tickets already for
wow.
So they're expecting a really good crowd, and that's not obviously not counting the walk-ups and even the fight with buys that are going to happen. So it's going to be a huge event.
Do you think the visa issues has anything to do with the weight getting pushed up by Team Spence?
The weight, yeah, I do think, yeah, that's what.
Okay. All right, so that's a little bit better to hear.
Because he was supposed to get there earlier, and now he was able to get there.
That makes a lot more sense.
That makes sense to me, and that's fine. I honestly think that it probably benefits both guys anyway. I think I think we're all in agreement here. Errol at 160 might be a little bit of a better fighter than he was when he's in his smaller days, because he was just killing himself down to get down to the weight, and having been out for so long, he probably was a bit bigger anyway. Tim as well. Tim at 54. Listen, Tim can make 54, but I think Tim, we've heard some rumors of Tim going to 160 as well. So it might be a better fight at 160 in general. Then what happens afterwards with the winner, if the winner stays at 60 or goes to 54, who knows? But I think it probably makes it a better fight, low key. But I think
I'm curious to see these guys on the scale together when they're face to face, because I've been around both guys. Obviously, Errol's a bigger guy. He's a much bigger guy. Yeah. Tim doesn't strike me as a big 54 pounder. He's strong. He's built well. He's very, he's fit, whatever, but he's not tall. I think he's like 5'8". He's a little shorter than me. Errol is eye to eye with me, wide shouldered, and heavily muscled. I do believe that Errol should be the bigger man in there, but again, being off as long as he is. But I think you swayed me. I feel much better about this because of the visa issues, and I think you're right. I think this is actually probably a better fight at 160.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll fly there Sunday night to Australia. I'll get there Tuesday morning, and then I'll get a look at.
Hopefully, we'll get you in some of the shows next week. I know it's a weird time, but I'd love to hear what's going on fight week.
Usually, I have to wake up like 4 o'clock in the morning over there, but I'll try to wake up, please, man.
We'll get you early in the week before you acclimate.
It should be fun.
Another fight that's on the docket that finally got locked was September 4th. Andy Ruiz is back. He's fighting Damian Canibia, which I called Canibia right before he fought Agacabell. He's good. He's a difficult guy to deal with. Tall Polish fighter. Uses his length really well. Drops that right hand hard. He's got a good jab. He was giving Agacabell hell for the first round and a half of that fight. I don't know if you guys remember seeing that fight. Agit came back with good body shots, but he was giving Agit hell in the first couple minutes of that fight. Andy Ruiz, a guy who's coming back, a guy who has some trouble outside of the ring in the past, sometimes showed not in the best shape possible. I know he's got a lot on the line here, but not necessarily an easy fight to come off a long layoff.
I don't think it's going to be easy, but look, one thing that we notice, especially when we're following his career, he's here in Southern California. We hear a lot about him, but now that he went back with Manny Robles and is training with the man that made him a champion, I think he's focused. Manny's a very serious trainer, and he's not gonna take somebody that just wants to go out there and get paid. So I'm pretty sure they're training him hard. He's gonna be in great shape and put up a good show. It won't be an easy fight. He'll have to work, but it's the start of something huge. If he signed with Matchroom and Matchroom was able to put something together for him, that means big things are planned out for him.
I love it. I originally heard that he was going to be signing with Zuffa and he was going to be in that island.
Yes.
Of, not that many heavyweights, but I think signing with Matchroom and Eddie bringing that back together, I think is really good. They have a history. There's the Anthony Joshua fight down the line. We could see a rubber match there,
Yes.
which I don't know. I don't hate that matchup at all. Champ, you're someone
remember
that understands how good Andy is.
Wasn't Zuffa trying to compete for the Andy Ruiz? We were hearing
I heard that they had him. That's what I had heard.
Yes.
I think Coach, you heard the same thing.
Yes,
it continues this little war between Matchroom and Zuffa.
The love triangle, quadrangle, whatever he's turning into.
Competing for signing talent and whatnot, and every time they make an announcement and make a signing, they make an announcement like, "Yeah, I got him now," So
yeah.
Like,
a lot of rubbing it in people's faces.
This
from
is
the
the
promotional
new.
side.
It seems like this is the new Top Rank versus Don King old days. Then it became Top Rank against Golden Boy for a while, and now it's Zuffa against Matchroom. It's becoming there's always that little two-tiered
Little
battle.
side drama, little side drama. It's good. It's a little
Every
extra
time,
seasoning.
and where all the talent goes. It's side drama, but it's
Yeah.
also where typically all or most of the major talent goes. And so we're starting to see that in boxing.
But it's not a bad fight. It's not a bad return fight. Damien can be he looks the part. He's good. He's been in a big fight before. He wants to get that back, but I don't hate the fact he hasn't fought 2 years. It'll be 2 years by the time Andy gets back in the ring. That's a long time. He also broke his hand in that Jermall Miller fight back in August 2024. So coming back off that is always an issue. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to having Andy back. I think he's entertaining as hell.
Jermall stays on winning ways. You could always make that rematch.
Yeah, they had a draw. They had a draw in August of 2024. So there's a lot of opportunity for Andy Ruiz. And again, once you make it in that room, he's a former world champion, first Mexican heavyweight world champion ever. That's a big deal having him back in the sport.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's gonna be great for him to come back. Like you're saying, after 2 years. People are waiting for him. We here in Southern California, people love Andy. He's a very likable person, very funny. Always everywhere you see him. Yes, there's been negative things, back and forth because of his career. He hasn't been active, but now, like I said earlier, now that he's back with Manny Robles and focused and wanting to get that title again and become champion, I think he's serious about it, and I think we're gonna see a good Andy Ruiz in his comeback fight, and hopefully to a point where he could become champion again.
Robert, is Andy born in Mexico or is he born in Southern Cal?
I believe he's born in Southern Cal, but he lives right border of Mexicali and United States. Yes.
Because in Italy, they don't consider me Italian because I'm born in New York.
well, same thing with us. They don't consider us Mexicans because we were born in the States. But
you're not Mexican nationals.
Like, we consider ourselves Italian. You guys consider yourself Mexicans, but
yes,
in countries they're like, no, you guys ain't one of us.
But at least at the end of the day, if you can fight, you get accepted from both cultures. You can fight, so you're gonna get a little bit of a pass.
Yeah.
Speaking of Southern California, Diego Pacheco is fighting this weekend. Robert, you mentioned how you have Chop Chop fighting tomorrow night over that Carson card. And he's fighting someone we know really well. He's fighting Manuel Alim, who just went the distance with Lester Martinez a couple months back. Really, really fought a great fight. Showed incredible toughness and durability. Had a good game plan. Was locked in throughout. Essentially was dominated by Lester, but still was a very competitive round by round type of fight. And Pacheco, who's a guy, he's streaking, man. He's looking for that next step. A guy who got a little bit stagnant, matchroom fighter, but has all the potential in the world. And he's going out there. He's like, I got to beat him better than Lester did. This is a measuring stick kind of fight for Diego Pacheco, but not an easy guy in front of him. When Emmanuel Alim is in shape, which we saw him against Lester. He's a problem probably for anybody in the division. And these guys are getting pretty chippy at press conferences. So this is a good fight.
Yeah. No, it's a perfect fight for Pacheco. Look, Pacheco knows that he needs to go out there and perform, and he got a real solid opponent to do that. He's been, most of us were not very pleased with his last performance. He was having trainer issues, didn't have a trainer. Now he's training with Buddy McGurk, who is a great trainer, former champion, and has done great work with so many champions. So I think that was a good matchup right there for both of them to work together. So I think we're gonna see a focused, a dedicated Pacheco, and he has to go out there and perform, especially when he knows he's fighting Alim, who just fought Lester. He knows everybody's going to be watching. Everybody's going to be comparing that. Both of them see who did better, who does better, who drops him, who knocks him. You know what I mean? So he's got that pressure on him. But I think he's going to go out there and do the work, because he has to.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Buddy McGirt. Buddy McGirt, a friend of mine. He's the first Long Island world champion. I'm one as well. There's not many of us. So Buddy's an old friend of mine. And Paulie, you train with Buddy for a few of your fights. How do you think they match up stylistically? Because with Buddy, he's a boxer puncher, and he trains boxer punchers really well. His connection with Arturo Gatti revitalized his career because of that. Buddy could box, but Buddy could also punch. And so as a fighter, and he brings that to his charges really well. And Diego Pacheco, I see a lot of those similarities. Yes, he's tall. He can fight longer from the outside, but he can punch as well. So how do you think that they'll match up, being as someone who's trained with him as well?
Pacheco's a tall fighter, but he typically doesn't fight tall.
Yeah. Neither did Buddy. I mean, Buddy wasn't tall, but he fought in the pocket a lot.
No. Buddy will make a tall fighter fight short, is what I'm saying. So,
yeah.
So, and it's what I'm saying is it may be beneficial because Pacheco can punch a little bit. He's not the kind of tall fighter that pulls. Buddy hates pulling fighters, guys that pull, a lot of, and so that's a big reason why my style didn't work with him is, I was an athletic kind of fighter who used a lot of pulls and countered in that way and changed range. Pacheco, though tall, and a lot of tall fighters are range-changing kind of fighters. They do play with range. Pacheco is not one of those tall fighters, So I think, being a guy who's sort of in the action, being a guy who likes to punch, likes to, be at close range and fight, even though he's tall, I think Buddy can help him. That's the kind of style Buddy can help. I do think you have to be a bit of a puncher because Buddy's style, by the process of elimination, keeps you a little bit at closer range, because without that pull stuff, you're always going to be in that sort of range, even if you're sidestepping. But I do think that he can help him, because one thing Pacheco could use is probably a jab in his style. He could probably use a bit of a better jab, and I think Buddy can add that while also keeping his identity as a fighter the way it is. Because Pacheco's identity is not, again, a tall guy who pulls and uses length. He's a fighter who is tall but could fight just the same way if he was a regular height, So I think Buddy will probably take advantage of that, maybe add a better jab to him. It could be a good association, I think. I think this is the kind of style that may work with Buddy McGirt.
Yeah, I was curious to talk to you about that, Champ, since you have trained with Buddy. I never got a chance to train with Buddy. Like I said, we're friends, but never got to actually be in the gym with him during my career. So interesting to hear. And I like Pacheco. I like what he brings to the table. I think he's talented. He's big, man. Big for the weight, tall, long.
Alim has another chance here to prove himself, and Pacheco has been a bit inconsistent. I think he's been down recently, right? In one of those fights, he was
in his last fight when he fought Tszyu. Tszyu, he got dropped. Physical guy, strong guy.
So, and Alim is a guy who likes to throw hard punches. He likes to engage. It's not the ideal weight from at 160. Maybe he's a bigger puncher, smaller weights, but Alim is the kind of guy that can take advantage of flaws if you have them. And I think he's going to be motivated based on how he.
Well, we saw in the Lester fight, Alim's a good body puncher. And he's shown himself to be a good body puncher in lower weights as well. But he got respect with the body work in the Lester fight. Pacheco's got a long torso, man. That's a lot of real estate to try and crack to the body. So,
and speaking of jabs, I think Alim has to use his jab a little bit more as well.
Yeah,
at times he's not busy with it either.
He came out really, really pumping that jab against Lester, got away from it a little bit, and the fight got away from him a little bit. It turned into a trench warfare kind of fight, which I think with Pacheco might be dangerous. I don't know. Lester is as well, but I don't know. Pacheco has a different range, so you got to deal with him. But a little bit of an abbreviated episode. We got weigh-ins to get to, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. Robert, thank you. I'll see you downstairs. Champ, Paulie, good luck out there. We'll see you on the next show, August 29th, when we're back. You're back with us. So don't worry, Paulie's not going anywhere, guys.
That's an LA show, right? That's what.
Yeah, the Lester Martinez, big, massive card. But
where is that? Galen Center? Is that?
It's Galen Center in LA, Los Angeles, September. August the 29th. Coming up pretty quick. But everybody tuning in, thanks so much. But we do have a fight tomorrow night. That is July the 18th over here in San Bernardino, California. Brian Flores versus Jonathan Navarro. I literally just ran into Brian outside on the walk. Joshua Anton versus Vladimir Hernandez is a really good chief support. And then Ruben Aguilera. Make sure you guys tune in for him. He's fighting Trayshawn Wiggins. Good fight. Hey, but Trayshawn Wiggins can fight, man. That's a good one right there. And we got the ladies. Great fight. And the ladies are defending, Adelaida Ruiz is defending her super flyweight title against Ginny Fuchs, who has a win over Adelaida just 2 fights ago. So I got to interview both these ladies last week. They are raring to go. They both are in excellent shape. That should be a good fight as well. And then, of course, we've got August the 29th, like I had mentioned. Huge card. Basically top to bottom. Great card. We have Lester Martinez topping that, defending his WBA interim super middleweight title against Luka Plantic, who's undefeated and is brimming with confidence. That's an excellent main event there. Naji Lopez, the return off of that fight of the year contender in his last fight versus Juan Carrillo, who is also undefeated and very dangerous. Good fight there. And then return Ramon Cardenas, a local favorite, a Texas boy who can really fighting Leonardo Carrillo. Excellent card top to bottom at the Galen Center in Los Angeles, Saturday, August the 29th. The membership subscription starts August the 1st. Make sure you guys come back to ProboxTV.com. Press that button. For the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to all of this and these great fights. So make sure you guys tune in. And when he was not there, Probox TV, Lester Martinez, Luka Plantic, exclusively on our YouTube channel. So tune in.